Welcome to the EMS Studio Secrets podcast. I'm joined with Jemima.
Welcome, everyone, to EMS Studio Secrets. I think we should extend it and really say EMS Studio and Wellness. Right now, there's so much happening in the market with, the combination like GLP-1 and EMS training. So many wellness clinics, they extend their services to electromuscle stimulation. So many EMS studio extend to, more wellness offers. Like they're going to have more tools like red light therapy, cold plunges, different things. And EMS studios also realize that they have customers that use GLP-1.
Yeah, I think that's one shift that's happening in the market that a lot of people aren't talking about. There are some people, but we're seeing more of the medical space go into the fitness and training space, but then we're also seeing the fitness and training space go into the medical space. So I think that more medical clinics, more doctors are really interested in bringing in wellness into their clinics, into their offices. The reason why is because they are getting recurring visits, recurring revenue, and revenue that's outside of insurances.
Right.
And that's key because that's cash for them. So I want EMS studios, I want wellness studios to know that what they have is so precious and that people like doctors and clinics, they want that. They want that in their offices. And it's not to be scared, but it's so that you know how important it is to cultivate your clientele. Not only that, but that you are the front line of the medical wellness and well-being for your clients.
Yes. I mean, there's many tools they're using, but beside like the medical tools right now used specifically in weight loss, which is, GLP-1, more known for people by the name Ozempic. The other tools that spas and wellness clinics are using, like red light therapy, cold plunges, sorry, I forgot the word, compression boots, infrared. There could be exposure to oxygen treatments. I mean, you name them. But what we listened to in the past weeks is that it's hard to like increase the retention for these because you don't have that significant change, that significant transformation that people are always looking for. People really want to see something happening with them, otherwise they're out. And one thing that electromuscle stimulation has is you feel that it's working, and it gives you visible results. It gives you results that you feel, measurable results. Really important.
Yeah. So I think one of the things we wanted to do is like peel back the curtains and show and give to our audience who aren't existing clients of EMS Mastermind, but are following us, are seeing our content, are listening to our podcast. We want to let you in on what's currently happening, what we're seeing, and what the biggest impacts are for your studio, how to generate revenue faster, like what we immediately do, but at the same time, what it takes to change what is currently being offered. So, with that said, I think, and Jemima, I kind of want you to talk into this. It's the journey that we take right when a client signs up with us, and this is something that we just want to give as free value. You can do this today just listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
And what's the first question that you ask them? Okay, they sign on board with us, they're ready to make a difference in their journey to take their studio to scale, to up level. What's the first question you ask when we sit down and say, okay, this is what we need to do to start making a change?
Who are you helping to solve their problem? It's interesting that people are operating, serving people, and it's just not defined who they really help to solve their problem. And they still like communicate towards electromuscle stimulation. Electromuscle stimulation is a wonderful tool, like all the other tools in the wellness realm, but it's a tool. That means it's a vehicle that you're using to solve a problem. But I do not attract people by talk about the tools, because people do not know the tools. People do not connect with that. There's no emotional engagement when I talk about tools. I need to talk about your pain points for you to engage with me. And that's sometimes that it's the foundation, it's the basic, because only then you can have really hooks that catch the attention of prospects and your future customers. If the hook that itself is the product, it's very difficult, specifically when you are working in an industry of a product that's not known. It's very different talking about a burger, right? Let's talk about a cheeseburger. We all know what a cheeseburger is. And it's interesting. Even Ozempic, made it. So now a lot of people know Ozempic or GLP-1. They know what it means. We haven't accomplished that yet with EMS, right? EMS in the US, people still think it's emergency services. In other countries in Europe, you will still face the fact that people just simply don't know what it is. So they don't get attracted by it because they don't know if this tool is the problem, is the vehicle that helps them solve their problem and bring them to their desired outcome. So this is really like the foundation to understand which person's problem do I solve. And I want to add one more thing to it, because we just experienced that. If you're serving people that you don't like, if you serve people that are triggering you, that absolutely is opposite to what you as well need in terms of committed, responsible people in order to achieve these results, then you're banging your head against the wall every single day and you're losing your energy. And we just had this situation with someone that is crying on the call because realizing, I do not want to do weight loss. And you know what? That's totally fine, because you can be in our realm, you can be in fitness and health, and it doesn't have to be about weight loss, because a lot of prospects that are interested in weight loss, they're still chasing the magic pill. They're still chasing like something where they don't have to take responsibility, where they don't have to look at themselves and be realistic about what it takes to really transform and to get healthier and better. And this is the good news. So when you sit down and you think about whose problem do I want to solve, you also are given the opportunity to think first, who do I want to help? And in the past, who did I try to help? And maybe I tried to maybe not help, but fix people. And then when it goes into fixing people, we are experiencing pain in our business because it's unhealthy. It's like toxic, because you don't have the right boundaries, like you're chasing the wrong people, you trying to take on their responsibility, and it just doesn't work. So it really starts off by learning about yourself, who is actually your perfect customer, also with your own background and your own experience.
Yeah, and I want to go deeper into that because this is like real world client experience. So this is a client that is with us, and still the first question we ask is, what is your dream customer? And because they have been so used to just serving people that will bring them money, they were so frustrated because they weren't able to express that they don't want to serve somebody that's in the weight loss space. They don't want to be telling somebody that hey, you can't outwork a bad diet. You never will. And if that's not the person, and I want to say this to our audience, if that's not the person that you want to serve, if your studio is filled with people that initially you thought, okay, I'm just going to take them because I need money, but as you've worked with them, they aren't changing, and it's because they don't want to be accountable and they don't want to transform, then it's okay to say, I don't want to work with these people. I don't like working with these people. And I want to encourage you that to look at your roster, look at your membership base. And if the majority are constantly saying no to a second EMS session, that they only want to train once a week and that they like it because it's just part of the one of many things that they do, and you don't want to help them, yes, we understand. You need money. You need to make a living, but know that you don't have to continue to serve them, and know that you can get new clients that are your dream client. And that's one of the things that we encouraged our client yesterday. And they were finally able, and I think they began to cry because it was finally someone that heard them. Because so many times agencies come with like, hey, we work this way and we're going to get you. In their case, they had a red light agency that told them, hey, we have a plug and play system. We're going to get you red light therapy clients, and we're going to get you a lot of them, and you just have to set it up. And they said yes to that. Yes to a lot of clients, but it was yes to a lot of clients that they don't like working with, because after 3 sessions the people stopped coming, because after 3 sessions they wanted a full body change, or at least significant change, without putting any exercise, without changing their diet, and they wanted the magic pill. And let's be honest, in this wellness space, there is no magic pill.
There is no magic pill. And also, like, you brought up something very interesting and very important. A lot of our customers, they all have worked before with generic agencies, right? The classic marketing agency. And somehow they have this idea that it's the marketing agency that defines who you're working with, right? They think it's like a normal step in setting up a campaign. That they create the audience. It's not like that. They don't create your audience. It's not up to Meta or, even where your studios. Of course, you should initially have done a market research. Yes, that's part of setting up a professional business. You need to know who are the people that live around the studio, right? But in most cases, the density of the people that live in this area is big enough for like a studio or wellness clinics, because again, we're not talking about 2,000, 4,000 members. Like, a very successful studio is somewhere around from 150 to 250 customers. So most places have the density that you can attract different people that living around the studio. So to understand who is the person that you're going to help solve the problem is not something that a marketing agency should do for you. It's not something, that's put on you. Is where you have to ask yourself, one, what is my specialty? Like, who are actually the person that I can guarantee I give them the best results because of my background, right? If I come from kinesiology, physiotherapy, right, I probably am really good to help pain patients, people that have pain or like had injuries, etc., right? If I maybe I come from an area where I really like to work with elderly people, right? I mean, there's so many people out there that have problems to be solved, that it can be anything, right? It really doesn't have to be just weight loss, which, by the way, is also it's like a bigger, how can I say that? It's also very wide, because within weight loss, there's weight loss for teenagers, there's weight loss related to, menopause. Yeah. Someone that's 50 needs a different strategy to help with their weight loss than if you have like a teenager, right, that is already obese. That's very different. It's very specific. It requires very specific know-how in treatment in order to get them help. So I think that's important. Know that it's not a marketing agency that defines for you who's your audience. It's you, one, from your own expertise, where you know that I have the specific requirements like my customers need in order, to get help, and I can really solve it. And then the other thing that's also very important is to know, who do I like? Like,
Who do you want to work with?
Who do I want to work with? Because it can get so frustrating when, and I think that's such an amazing opportunity to be able to say, where I've done this in the past, like, I'm really over a very specific kind of person that drains me, right? And if you're listening today and you are working in that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, there are people that give us energy and there are people out there that take our energy.
Yeah.
And when we know what their characteristics are, then this is your chance to give yourself, listen carefully, permission to say, this is not the person I want to work with.
Yeah. And you said something that I just need to remind everyone. Don't get confused because Jemima said weight loss for menopause, weight loss for kids, and it's like I can do it all. No, you
No,
can't.
you can't.
Pick one client, one avatar, and focus on that one and grow because that's who you're going to serve. That's your specialty. And people are going to be attracted to that. And like Jemima said, you need 150 to 250 clients. Now, here's the thing Alex Hormozy says, and he says there's only two ways to grow a business: either you get more clients or you make those clients more valuable. So when Jemima says 150 clients, 250 clients, it isn't just like these clients that are paying $10, $15 a session. No, these are clients that, again, are looking for a transformation and they've wanted that transformation for years, and you're going to give them that, and they should pay for that. Yes, initially you can start off low, but what we're seeing most of the time is that you're undervaluing your services. And with EMS, like suppliers have said, most of the time it's one on one. So, how can a studio, and this is something that I think we talked to right on, and it's a big hurdle, but the people who get it are the ones who are really having a higher income per hour. How is it and why is it and how important is it to increase the value of your client, and how's the fastest way that an EMS studio, an EMS location can do that?
Yes. So the fastest way to increase your revenue per customer is, first of all, make sure that you don't train them one on one, right? You need to go into semi private classes. They can start from 2, 3 people all the way up to, there is currently studios, they train 10, 15 people, right? But even if you have like, your goal is like 3 to 5, it's going to make a massive difference in the revenue you're making. And then it shouldn't stop there. What I notice is so many studios and wellness clinics, they don't offer supplements, right? And that's another 25% revenue right there with the same customer. And when they start trusting you with their workout, they will trust you with their supplements. So that's 25% that they could do extra. And then talking about now, like the popularity of weight loss medicines for this category, they can partner up with doctors,
Or a provider.
and providers. Exactly. And another thing is always to increase the sessions, right? We still have a lot of studios believing that one time is the week, that's enough. It has been communicated by suppliers for a very, very long time. And it's kind of like,
Specifically, Miha. Calling you out, Miha.
so that is something where we just disagree with that, right? We are following like safety protocols. Of course we do. We don't want anyone to get hurt or overdo it or get overtrained right in the beginning when they start. But I think it's medically safe to say that our body has the complete like capability of adaptation. So our bodies adapt, and because of this, we get used to that. We get used to electromuscle stimulation. So it's safe to say that you can do 2 sessions. And right now, a trend that really helps studios to also make way more revenue is to shift to unlimited packages. And I want to clarify something right away. When we talk about EMS Unlimited, we do not talk about doing every day and high intense, like, muscle destroying workout. No. When we talk about EMS Unlimited, we talk about how can we use the tool of EMS to do so many facets of what is possible with that, right? That can be a high intense workout, but you can also use EMS for recovery, for relaxation, for meditation, for stretching. You can also use electromuscle stimulation for cardio workouts and fat burns and more moderate things. And it's really not a question of how many sessions, but what is the intensity of the sessions and what is the goals? So I think that's another trend, because why would I want to have someone come to me for one session a week and then this person goes and spends their budget for fitness and health onto another studio because I was the one telling them, oh, you can only come to me once.
Yeah.
Right? So I would highly recommend to really understand what this person wants from me and what they need, for them to say, you know what? You don't need to go and have another personal trainer by the side, or you don't have to go into another studio for working out the other days. I want you to come to me. And obviously I need to be protective of your health, and I really want you to not overtrain, but I also want you to really have the positive effects of super compensation, which means you grow. And that means I am also the one completely tracking your sessions, your recovery, what we can do, so that I become the hub, I become the place where you want to spend the majority of your time and not give it to someone else.
Yeah. So I'm going to get real. The majority of studios love to do intro sessions. But one of the things that drives me kind of nuts, and Jemima, I'd like you to speak into this, is that they will put someone in the suit before they realize, is this my client? They're so eager to bring in a new customer or to just wow them with the power of EMS that they'll take anybody, put them in a suit. And I have a feeling that some supplier marketing got in there where it's like, let's train everybody.
Yeah, some equipment supplier, because think of that. That's free marketing right there. They told you, train everyone, because maybe it's not for them, but maybe it's for someone else that maybe might want to buy some equipment and even want to like open a studio. And you know what? It works for them, right? We don't get into this right now because I know you want to go with that question somewhere else. But to answer your question, or to really go into this, what we do is, the next phase after we really understand, okay, this is the person that I want to work with, this is the person that I know how to get them to their goals. The next thing is like, okay, now I have the right hook for them, right? I know their pain. I know how to talk to their desire, but I need to now give them an amazing offer, like an offer where they're like, man, this is too good to be true, right? We do this, we craft this together. And I think the education is, let's go away from cost, because we have too many people that are cost driven, too many people that are scared to be sold, and too many trainers out there and studio owners that are scared to sell. It's a big, big problem, right? So one step is like really understanding, like creating this amazing offer so that you, as the studio owner, become very confident about what you have to offer and fall in love with your own service, fall in love with the value that you're giving, understand your value, understand the worth. I cannot sell you, make you understand what I'm worth and what my value is if I haven't understood that yet fully. And that's why this process is so important, and really focus on all the value that we bring into this relationship. And when I've done this, right, I learn how to pitch this offer and when to pitch this offer. And before that happens, I need to qualify. Qualification of prospects happens early on. We bring this into our campaign setups, like we do this. So when we set up your campaign, we ask questions, right? We want to make sure that you not have to deal with, like too much filtering. There's still filtering involved, especially when we, work with cold leads. It's part of the game. It's inevitable, right?
Inevitable.
Exactly. But in an intake form that we have created, custom because we have done it so many times, and we also want to avoid that people have like too many documents. The first thing, if you come into me and you come into my space, I want to listen to you, who you are. I want to listen to your pain points. I want to educate you and help you. But I also, in the same time, I want to qualify if you are actually the person that I want to help. Again, I need to allow myself to believe that a lot of studio owners think they don't have a choice. It's almost like there is this belief that everyone that comes, I need to serve them. I have to serve them. And that's not true. You have permission after you ask the questions and identify them to say, I don't think this is for you. Again, there's different fears that studio owners have, and we are identifying this more and more and more, right? With the dream customer, the fear is, do I miss out on people when I niche it down? No, you don't. It's the opposite, right? Because when you go deeper, you get more substance. You get actually more leads in that are for you. When it comes to qualification, is the same thing. They think, oh, I'd rather take, let's say, the bad customer that pays less, is complaining all the time, doesn't get results, so I will never get a testimony from them. Think of that. The wrong people, the wrong person. You never get results because they don't show up to their session. They don't like stick to accountability. They don't follow your nutrition advice. They don't have results, but they're going to make your life hard because they're going to blame you. They're going to complain. They want maybe their money back, or they block off times, then they don't show up, and they still want you to give them an alternative session. It's crazy, right? And you will never get a testimony from them. You will never get a referral from them. And you want upselling them. So why wasting your time? Why wasting your time? But I get it. It's not easy. I struggle with that. I don't think it's easy to qualify someone and then be honest enough to myself to say that's not the one, because we don't like to say no. And we also were like, when someone is here and is wanting to give you money, to put them down when you might be in a situation where you could really need this money, that's hard, right?
Yeah.
So I want to also validate that it's really not that easy. It's not just like, oh
It's the
yeah.
hardest thing. The hardest thing for any studio, even for us, is to get clients in the door. For us, it's to get them on a Zoom. And I acknowledge that. But here's the thing that's always bit us in the butt. When we go right to hitting them with the offer and saying like, okay, let's get started. And I'll give you a perfect example. We had a client that we were talking to on Friday. Today's Monday. And they said, hey, let's try it out for a month. And if it works, we'll sign up for the next 2 months. Sorry, can't work with us. Now, in order to tell them that sorry, we had to go through so much headache. So many clients that only wanted to work with us for a month to see if it really worked, which is, again, the power of a case study or a proven testimonial is priceless. But it's still a struggle for us because we do want to help. We know that we can help them. But if we don't value ourselves, if we don't get someone who's willing to invest in a transformation and willing to change themselves, then they're not our clients. And again, another client, same story. And we were so proud of them that they said no. They called them and said, hey, I have type 2 diabetes. I wanted to know, is EMS good for me? But I'm not willing to change my diet. You know what our client said?
That's why you have diabetes type 2.
Exactly.
And it's a red flag. You do not want to take responsibility for yourself. You want to keep blaming others for your health problems or for your pain that you're experiencing. And that's the moment where you have to say, I'm sorry, I don't think I don't think that we are meant for each other, or I don't think that this works and I have to decline this. And you can say this super kind, but it's true. I want to point out a couple of red flags, okay, for you. So that the next time you hear that, attention, right? Red flag. So when people say things like, I want to see if that works, or I want to test it out. Or, when they have the doubt if it works from the beginning, that's a red flag, right? Because the truth is, if you and me are both committed, right? And you and me both take responsibility for our action, and we're gonna, you and me, work together until we make it we make it work, it's gonna work. That's it, right? Like, I'm not a fraud. You're not a fraud. Like, you're not here to take someone's money and run away. No, we're not. Like, we're real, honest people that want to make a difference. We want to help people, but we need also real, honest people on the other side who want to take responsibility. They don't want to play the blame game, and they want to change the world, and they want to change something. So if someone says to you these things like, I want to test it out, let me try it for a week, or let me try it for a month, no, right? Now you might ask yourself, so how do I answer this? Like, what do I say if someone says, okay, let me try it out, or it has to work in a week or a month? What do I say? So in your particular case, my answer would be, I understand that you want to feel that this is working, and I can absolutely guarantee you that you're going to feel the change, and you might even like see, like your body more firm, more tight, and you're going to see this in the first couple of sessions, right? But if you want to be a different person within 1 month, I tell you, this is absolutely unrealistic, and this doesn't work, right? Transformations, they take time, and success is not doing something for 3 weeks and then be like, this is it, right? Success is doing something continuously. Success means doing something consistent. Success means, like continuing even if you fail. Try it from a different angle. You have to try different approaches over and over again. And if you don't quit, you will win. As easy it is. But a lot of people are not willing to fail. They're not willing to experience when it's not rapid or instant success. A lot of people, they give up too early. And that's why we said, no, I'm not working with you for a month. Like, let's be realistic. I mean, I started working out in my teenage years, right? And I have phases where I'm really lean, and then I have phases where I'm more chubby, because that's also life. Life is like constant, like up and down, and you get pregnant, you get sick, there's so many things, you age, like, to think that within a month, I'm just like having this unrealistic results, and then what? You all drop it? Because, like, you are self-sabotaging yourself, and that's it. No, that's a red flag right there.
Yeah, which is why it's so important to pre-qualify them. I'll give you another example. We have a client that just told us about an intro session that happened yesterday, and they were 35 minutes late. And how they like to talk about their service is that right away they get them in a suit. And we have told them that's not the way to get an intro session happening.
Absolutely not.
The person was 35 minutes late, so what do? What should have been the correct scenario? And this is where it's so important to have your boundaries. You tell them,
I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't work. But this is how I suggested. You tell them, thanks for coming in. We actually don't have enough time to do your EMS intro session, but what I want to do is get to your fitness goal. Their goal is going to determine everything, because based on their goal, you will know and they will know that this is the right fit. And we can reschedule the
if the person is a qualified prospect.
Exactly. Yes. But getting them to say, okay, why are you here? Why hasn't it worked before? What have you tried before? If you don't have the answers to those questions, then you should not get them in a suit. And if you know the answers to those questions, then you can ask them, are you willing to try something different?
Yeah. I think that we learn as, studio owners, and maybe I'm a manager for like an EMS studio or like a head trainer or even trainer. We learn how to conduct a good training session. But I think what is missing is also like how to really proper communicate. Like, what is the communication that is required? Like, what are the questions I need to ask? What are the red flags? And we need to define them. And that's what we're doing a lot in our coaching sessions with our material, in our consultation, is really learning how to deal with the onboarding process. And that means I need to learn which questions to ask. I need to check if they're qualified. I need to learn how I answer to objections, right? And whenever I am, and I'm saying like I'm the studio owner and I'm not like 100% confident, or I feel, I feel a little overwhelmed in this moment, how to answer, then I'm letting people get away maybe with red flags, where if I'm really confident in my offer and if I'm really like understanding my worth, going back to the value, and I understand and I have defined what are red flags and what are not, and who's qualifying, then I can really like kind but firm come back with, if to the objections, but also if it's the one for me or not. And that changes the whole energy, right? I wanted to add something when it comes to people overstepping boundaries, like, for example, being super late. Look, there's an exception for everything, right? But what I'm observing a lot is, the fear of losing people. And that's why I let them cross boundaries. I want to give you this example. So we have a son who is like almost 3 years old, and his bestie, they're both going to school. They're going to two different schools, right? Our school is more flexible, right? And the other school is very rigid because they have to, because they're just bigger in size. And they have done something which I really admire. So my friend calls me. She's like, oh, I'm having a really bad morning. And I'm like, what's happening? And she's like, my son has been late to school 2 minutes and they didn't let him in. And initially I was like, this is outrageous. Like, like, man, your son is 2 minutes late for school and they don't let him in. And as a parent, when you're working, like what you do and you don't have a nanny that is flexible, your whole day is messed up. Right. So, and initially I wanted to take the stand, and be like, man, this is crazy. Like they can't do this. Right. And then immediately. So, and she said, no, they have like, they're allowed from 8:15 to 8:30 to come in, and everything after at 8:30 on, they close the doors and no one come in anymore because they start the programs, right? Fair enough. On this morning, there were 7 kids that were late. And they stand in front of the school being really upset. The next day, they were all on time. So why I'm telling you this story, and maybe you relate, I have such a hard time when I put a boundary and people are upset because I take it personally, right? Which is wrong. Yeah? It's just something that I need to work on. And because of that, I let people come late, accept them. But what lesson, what do I teach them? I teach them that I'm fine with that. I teach them that it's okay. Mm-hmm. And then I'm getting upset. I'm ending up me being the upset person, and more than just one time, because I taught them how to treat me, and they do it over and over and over again. Here's the thing. If I can be okay with someone being upset one time, I don't have to be upset ever. Because there's 2 options. One option is this person comes on time the next time, and there's something huge happening. This person is going to respect me.
And change.
The other option is this person doesn't come back, but then was that really my person from the beginning? And that's huge, guys. That is so huge. It's something I'm working on because I'm scared to make anyone upset. But what is my solution? Like, what do I want more? Do I want to learn to be okay with someone being upset one time? Or do I want to live with people not respecting me, overstepping my boundaries over and over again, and me living more upset than once.
Yeah. And this is another area that I find it very difficult for our clients. And it goes back to creating an irresistible offer that requires three things: attending EMS sessions or the trainings, accountability, and a change in diet. I hear so many EMS studios that they don't want to talk about the diet because their clients aren't going to follow it. And we all know that if you don't change your diet, you can never outtrain a bad diet.
You cannot outtrain a bad diet. That is so true. And some of them also feel it's a gray area because obviously not everyone has the official requirements. Like not everyone is a nutritionist. And I think that I need to
Talk about that, please.
Yeah.
Can you please just please speak into this?
Okay. So if you haven't touched this subject because you feel you can't because you're not a nutritionist, you have a couple of options. Option number one is cooperate with a nutritionist and still give your customers like example and guidelines and tools that help them with their nutrition. Look, nutrition is simple in the end of the day. It's really simple. We created like different prompts with AI, which are amazing because you literally type in the weight, you type in what's their preference, if they're vegan, if they are, whatever is their food preferences, or if they have allergies, for example, and obviously their goal and everything. So you put in all the details, and then you get like a 7-day meal guide. And I think there's a difference between giving them supporting documents and helping tools. And that doesn't mean that you claim to be a nutritionist, right? And if they want to get a real nutritionist, get a nutritionist. But it is important to be honest and realistic about if you want the best results, you need to look into nutrition because we said it, you cannot outwork a bad diet, right? And it's something we cannot control. You cannot control what people put in their mouth, but you need to have someone that is at least committed to it. So then with the meal guide, you can get a shopping list, right? And you can get a restaurant guide as well, which is super helpful. And I think basics is something you can educate, right? Because it's really about you need to understand you need, the right amount of macronutrients. And not everyone is weighing their macros, right? But if you know which calorie deficit you need, when you know that you need definitely 120, 140, 160 grams of proteins a day, that's going to make a huge impact on your results. And if you have a meal guide that makes sure you eat enough proteins for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but you also eat the right amount of carbs and you eat the right fats, and again, understands where you are, especially lots of you guys you measure your customers. So you know exactly all their physical details, and you know even what their metabolic rate is, which means you know exactly what they are currently burning a day, right? And in the end, when it comes to these body transformations that once like increased muscle mass and decreased fat, which a lot of people want, then it's a deficiency game.
And it just goes back to that intake form. And here is the difference between you and a Platinum Fitness, an LA Fitness, all these big box gyms. It is hard, but it's not, and it is annoying, but it's not the hardest thing in the world. And it gives so much value. And the results that you're going to get for your clients, the case studies that you're going to get for the first client that you push through a 6-week following their diet program is going to be your best client, because you're going to be able to leverage that testimonial over and over and over again. Yes, it is difficult, But we should get excited about that because that's why most people don't do it. That's why most studios charge a minimum just for the tool instead of the overall transformation. So if there's anything that you can take away from that is get excited that it's a little more uncomfortable and difficult, but put in that little bit of work and you're going to get the most grateful clients because they're actually going to make that full change that they've been wanting to for years.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's the cornerstone of retention, right?
Yep.
So I need to start there to increase retention. I need to set them up correctly. I need to onboard them correctly. And in that onboarding, I need to know when is the next time I'm consulting them. You know, what's the next appointment where I check in with them and see what are they struggling with. Is it the accountability? Is it showing up to the sessions? Is it the nutrition? Like, what is it has been like holding them back? And you cannot have not a result if you are coming to your sessions when you're plugged into the accountability and to your community. You start learning about how many grams of protein you really need to eat a day, and you realize, man, I haven't been eating really proteins. I have been really focusing more on the wrong carbs, which left me eating too much sugar, for example, and that drained my energy. And when they start feeling better, then they're getting also very encouraged. And then it's on me. I need to stay accountable to myself and to my service and make sure I follow up with them. And I think not everyone is really doing that properly. Either they do it manually, they haven't really created that system that does that automatically, sends them reminders, schedules the progress consultation, or is something where you yourself maybe struggle with accountability, because accountability is discipline,
Yeah.
It requires discipline. And I think that makes also the difference between success and failure is like, do I have the discipline to continue and to check in myself and also do this with my customers?
There's one last question that I want to do before we end this. And I think it's a big one where we talk a lot about semi private, going to bigger groups. But that transition of doing one on one to one on two, I feel like there's so much fear because they're just like, how can I even do it? How can I spot them and give them that attention without decreasing the value, or it just feels like overwhelm. And we found it with even some of the largest franchise for EMS, that they're just like, we can't do it. It's impossible. And how did you figure it out? And what was that gap? That is it really that difficult?
Yeah, that's a good one. Don't get me started. I actually want to talk about this so bad. And I think this goes into probably the next episode we're going to record together. But to touch on this, if you started like around the time I started with electromuscle stimulation and operating and having studios, and you were very much influenced by an equipment provider, right? For me, I was very, very influenced by Miha Bodytech. Like, I learned everything they taught, and I stuck in the beginning, I stuck to the rules, right? The rules were one session a week, one-on-one. And even in the beginning, when they wanted also to bring in the semi-private or group classes, they were like, I remember initially there were a picture of 4 Mihas next to each other, but then they circled back and said it needs to be one trainer minimum per 2 customers, right? So these were the rules. So if you learn your product in a certain way and your mindset, you're set on that. This is what EMS looks like. This is what the operation looked like. That's it. And now you have been trained and educated like that. And now you give this to your customers. So your existing customers, that's how they know EMS, right? So now when I come and I want to tell them, no, EMS can be as well like this, you confuse them. And people's ability to change is challenging because people are very hesitant when it comes to change.
Yeah.
People fear instant fear. It's like, change, oh my God, what's happening? Are they taking something away from me? Once they get used to something and they get comfortable with something, they don't want to change that. And I have a lot of empathy for studios who are like, oh, it's really hard to go for that. Mm-hmm. But hear me out. I'm not asking you to upset your existing customers. And a transition takes time, and it's okay. You're not going in with a hammer and telling your existing 120 customers, from tomorrow we're going to do it different. You're going to pair up with 4 people that you don't know. Good luck with that. That's not what we're doing, right? But it's, again, we need to do it, especially when you noticed already that your concept is not really profitable. You have no other choice. You can either go through that discomfort of change and uncertainty to the other side where you're going to win then, or you're going to close your studio. So what do you want to do? Right? So my approach is to say, okay, let's start with the new customers that come in. The ones that don't know, they don't have yet an idea what EMS looks like. Look, if you come in for the very first time and you are introduced into semi-private, and imagine it's the same price that they charge for 101, but now for semi-private, and you get all the value, and now you get to meet really cool people, and it's a little bit competitive, right? And you love your new community because you all have the same goals, and the trainer is really good and also understanding there's a little bit of difference in how to do the exercise, because maybe one can do the exercise more dynamic or can, do a harder version of the exercise, and maybe another one is just have to hold it static. That's fine. That's absolutely doable. We would train our trainers to be capable of doing this. Again, it's a skill. It's being trained on doing it. It's not rocket science. It's not like something impossible. But the same customer comes in, been shown, this is our semi-private class. It has all these benefits, right? And the other person is introduced to, this is one-on-one, you do it once a week. The same person will take this, and that becomes the ultimate truth of EMS training, right? It's just like how you introduce something. And if you want to change that, you absolutely can. And you know what? You should. You must. Because we see studios that follow this old model, which I call a broken system, because we have too many studios out there. They're selling their concept, even they know that this concept is broken because they're bleeding money every day. So what's the way out? The way out is start with the new customers that come in, teach them about it, start with blocks where there's semi-private classes. Yes, it's going to take a little bit of your attention and strength, but you are able to do this. And then let the old customers be like, what is this? What are the new customers doing? And then get him in. And let me tell you this, if you upset a couple of old customers, good. Make space for new ones that are understanding the benefit of not training alone one-on-one, that are enjoying the community and accountability. And that's how you do it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening. It was such a fun morning for us. And we have so much more to talk about. Obviously, there's so much more we're doing in our process, and we want to take you on a journey. So we're going to see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening.
Have an awesome day.
Have an awesome day.